Hey, what's going on, everybody? Robert Kelly here. Again, we're at the Comedy Cellar Nightly. This is a show we are be doing every night while this pandemic, while this crisis, while the coronavirus has shut down the Comedy Cellar, shut down all of our careers. We're going to be doing this so we can bring comedy to you, conversation, and just some fun stuff so you have something to do while you're home quarantined too. So tonight we have the hilarious Robert Kelly. Oh my God, Greg Stone is here.
Hey,
Greg Stone. Hi, buddy.
up?
How are you? We got the very funny, one of my good friends, best pals in life, Joe DeRosa, Joey Roses, aka.
Hi, Bobby.
Hi, buddy. How are you? I had another AKA, but you stepped.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Dangerous Joe. Remember Dangerous Joe? And of course, the lovely, talented, and funny Marina Franklin. We have, hi, how are you? And we have the GM, Liz is downtown. She's downtown at the club right now. She is holding it down. She's fighting off. There's just homeless people and crack addicts. She has to go from the Pussycat to the Village Underground to the Comedy Cellar. She's making all this happen with Mushy Mike and Ragu. And then we have, of course, the owner of all, the owner of the Comedy Cellar, the guy who puts it all together, Noam Dworman, there in his palatial home in Westchester in the woods, where his neighbors around 2 football fields away from him.
Hello, everybody.
And I am Robert Kelly. I'm down the street from Noam in a different tax bracket. My neighbor can see me right now do this. Hi.
So you're in a shed, right?
I'm in a shed. I'm in a shed with a Dyson heater going right now. But we're all safe. Nobody has it, correct? Nobody here thinks they have it?
Nope.
I thought I did, but I don't. I got tested.
You know, I thought I did today too, to be honest with you. Last night I felt a little feverish and a little sick, and it was 99.7. And I called Dr. Steve today, who, by the way, has a great podcast called Weird Medicine. It's the only adult medicine podcast with real doctors who are talking about real things in a very funny adult way. He's coming on very shortly, and I called him today, and he knows everything about this, and he was like, "You don't have it, don't go. It's 100 and I think it's 101. Then you'll go or call somebody," because he goes, and it wounds up that last night I forgot I was cold and I put a hat on and a hoodie. So I just heated up my head for a little bit, and then my wife took my temperature, so I forgot about that part. But anyway, so welcome everybody. Joe, where are you at right now?
I'm in my apartment right now, in my bedroom in my apartment in New York.
I love that Marina is the only adult out of all the comics. All of us have our stupid "look what I did" behind us.
I have nothing on my walls. I never figured out how to put things up, so that's the only reason.
Yeah.
Before you came in, we were looking at each other's action figure collections. It was pretty
That's pretty exciting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that
Greg
conversation was fun. I had to put it on mute and wait for this to really start.
Greg has action figures over his bed that are knocked over because clearly women have let him bang against that wall.
These are not over my bed.
Dolls. Oh, okay.
My wife won't let them out of the room. They're all contained in here. Well, they've been in confinement for years. That they all must stay in here. But you can afford a separate room. I have a wife who works in the city, man. This is not for my money.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This is a thing that happened today. I don't know what's going to happen with rent. Maybe Noam can tell us. Today, Cuomo said that they're going to relieve mortgages for a couple months, which is, I mean, for me, I was a little worried about that. I'm going to have to pay my mortgage, and I got nothing coming in for the next 2 months, 3 months. But he said he's going to relieve that. What are they going to do with rent? Are they going to do anything with rent?
I don't know.
I think in 3 months, I think they're going to make sure that like you have 3 months, or if you can't pay, they can't evict you.
Really?
Being evicted.
I mean, I heard something. I don't know if it was passed, but I believe that that is the situation. They were discussing it. I've been watching it obsessively. So,
you know what I was thinking, Noam?
What is it, Joe?
Noam, I was just thinking you could just pay my rent for me. Why don't we just do that?
I'll take that under advisement. I've been reading a lot of the Jewish papers, and I think that we're going easy on evictions during this. We're going easy on evictions.
yeah, and like Con Edison, like my neighbor is like 70 years old. It said my internet is unstable. I'm unstable.
It's okay. You're good. We got you.
My neighbor's 70 years old, and he was really concerned about paying his bill. Like
Don't pay bills.
Yeah, he had $5 in his account. And I said, don't worry, during this time, this is the best time to not have money. You're fine.
Is it really?
So sweet.
So don't pay bills. You
Absolutely.
like if I have a cable bill or a phone bill, do not pay your bills.
Do not pay any bills. You don't know what's happening. The most important thing you can have now is cash. Do not pay nobody. And don't pay any bill until a judge tells you have to. That's
But isn't that going to mess up your credit and your score and all that?
You can make that calculation, but I even think they're gonna go back and not even hold this against your credit, because the whole point of a credit rating is that it's supposed to tell the lender something informative about you, about your risk. And people who can't pay during this or fall behind during this, I don't think that tells anybody anything about their actual risk in a normal period or how responsible they are.
Right.
I think the credit rating is even going to matter. That's what common sense tells me that.
Well,
Well, listen, I want to tell you, I don't know if this is anti-Semitic or common sense, but Liz will tell you.
All right, listen, real quick, before anybody starts talking, I want to introduce Dr. Steve is here right now. Welcome, Doctor. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me, Robert?
We can hear you. Everybody, welcome Dr. Steve. We got Marina Franklin. We got Greg Stone. We got Liz. We got Noam. We got Joe DeRosa. There's a bunch of people in here, and I'm very excited because Dr. Steve, through my life, has always walked me off a ledge or made me better.
Oh my God, and, Bob, do you know how many AIDS panics he's talked me out of over the
phone? Have you ever sent him a picture of your penis?
I don't know.
How many common penis photos do you have, Dr.
I have
Steve?
a few, but I don't have one of Joe's. I'm looking forward to that experience.
He's hit me with such specific statistics. I've been like, I fucked up. Am I in trouble? And he'll call me back and be like, Joe, if you fucked 100,000 women with an open wound on your dick, you'd still be in the 1 percentile. Like, he really breaks it down.
If you ever get a picture of Noam's penis, I'll give you 10 grand for it.
Well, physician-client confidentiality would preclude me from even telling you I had such a thing.
So he's very doctor-like.
You could show the penis, you can't just tell the name, right? HIPAA?
Yeah, we could guess.
If it's personally identifiable. So like if it had a weird like growth on it or something that someone else had seen, that would be personally identifiable. That would actually, like Bobby's, that would violate HIPAA.
What if it's just very conspicuously tiny, and that's enough for anybody to know who it is?
Yeah. It's like if someone can identify it, it's a HIPAA violation.
What if I get Bobby's dick tattooed on my dick?
Then I'd fuck you. No.
Oh.
That was definitely a joke. Okay.
So now, Dr. Steve, I've called you numerous amount of times during this whole pandemic or whatever we're calling it, and
it's a pandemic.
You saved me and a lot of worry. Even this morning, I called you and told you I had a fever last night. You told me to go fuck.
Uh-oh. Did we just lose Bobby?
Not in those words, but you basically.
No, you don't
have it.
You didn't have a fever last night. That's why. If you'd, any adult who has a fever, which you can define a bunch of different ways, but in this case, they're using about 100.3 or 100.5, should be evaluated because that's not normal. Kids get fevers all the time and they're totally fine. all these childhood illnesses, and kids are just gross and gooey and snotty, and they're all over each other and eating each other's food and touching each other's faces, and they're just horrific. But adults who get a fever, there's something going on. They should at least get evaluated.
Now, Noam, you had some questions for Steve. What do you got?
I don't have them in front of me. I sent them to you.
Oh, well,
you asked me
I can ask them if you want. I thought you were going to ask them.
I didn't know I was the only one asking questions.
You don't remember any of them. No, I have questions for him. I just want, look, you're probably two of the smartest guys I know. That's not saying much. I mean, I hang out with
Joe.
Yeah,
if I was so smart, I wouldn't have made that B&H comment in front of the entire world. But go ahead.
Well, we can edit this out. It's live, but I'm sure nobody's
edit that out. Liz, you can edit that out?
Yes.
Okay, good. Go ahead. I don't want to be a Shane Gillis of comedy world. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, look, you said you love your people. They're your people. I'm pretty sure you can talk about your people, right?
I love them more than anything.
Yeah. Yes, if it's black comics, you talk about black people.
Great question.
Oh, go ask it, Marina.
Where's the data from Africa?
Yeah, there is data from Africa. And,
what is it?
I can bring it up right now. South Africa, of course, has 62 cases, but Algeria, Senegal, and Burkina Faso are the top in the top four with 60, 27, and 20 cases apiece. You get down to Rwanda, Cote d'Ivoire, and all that. They've got less than 10 cases. So some of these areas,
Steve,
yeah.
Isn't it probably in countries that are not part of the first world that the testing also, there's probably many more cases.
Yes.
The testing is very behind.
Yes. Some of these areas have very isolated populations as well. Some of them have very urban areas. And yeah, there's that's part of the problem here. In our country, we went from 1,800 to about 3,500 cases in one day. And it's probably not that the virus is doubling, it's that the testing has ramped up. And, my hypothesis on this, and it's yet to be proven to be correct, but
that means a theory, Robert. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I know what hypothesis means.
Go ahead.
Alexa, what does hypothesis mean?
But my is that this 3% number that they're throwing around, even in China, for mortality, is likely to be overinflated. And the reason for that is that we're not testing asymptomatic individuals. We're only testing people that are sick. So if you have, let's say you had 3 people, if you had 100 patients and 3 of them died, that would be 3%, right? Well, what if the actual number in the denominator is 1,000? Then it would be 0.3%. And what if it's 10,000? Then, as we go up in these orders of magnitude, the lethality of this virus decreases. So,
but is it any different with a regular flu? We don't test asymptomatic people for regular influenza?
Well, that's right.
So apples to apples, it's still correct.
Maybe so. There are still people out there that we might test that are not being tested. So what I would like to see is an abundance of tests. They're coming out. We also have a new test that is hitting the market in the United States, and I just ordered my first case of them. And it is an IgM and IgG test. Now, what this is, so let's talk about the two kinds of tests. Right now, there's a polymerase chain reaction test, which is basically you put a swab in someone's nose and in their mouth, and then you get viral RNA, that's genetic material, and you amplify it, and then you can detect it and say, yes, this person has COVID-19 RNA in their nose. There's another kind of test that shows, has this person been exposed? So when we have viruses running around rampant in our bodies, our B cells particularly produce antibodies. And in the beginning, they'll produce one kind of antibody called IgM, and then later on, they when we clear the infection, the antibody memory is in the form of a different kind of immunoglobulin called IgG. So these tests will test for both IgM and IgG, which means that you can determine whether someone is currently infected or recently infected, or it's been resolved. And that's when we're going to find out how many people out there have already had it and we just didn't even know about it.
Wow, I like that.
greatest president that God ever created.
I just want to break the monotony for a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I know that was a long.
No, that was great. That was great. For those of us, I understand why Robert didn't follow it, but I thought it was great.
I followed it. I loved it. I do have a question for you.
You lost him at asymptomatic, but go ahead.
Hey,
more testing
there's other dumb people. There's other dumb people in here, Noam. You can pass it around a little bit. Okay. There's doctors in India have successfully treated 2 Italian patients for COVID-19, or the Chinese.
No.
That Trump is Why does he keep calling it that? By the way, can we just move on?
He's mad because they attacked him, and so he just wants to keep. And the worst was the Kong flu. That was the worst.
But now, are there actually two doctors that treated two patients in India successfully?
Well, there have been multiple successful treatments of this, but there's data coming from China, Korea, and France, and I've got a white paper that I'll put up on my Twitter feed after we're done, from Stanford University, that looked at data examining chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine as treatments for this COVID-19 disease. And chloroquine is an anti-malarial drug. Hydroxychloroquine, people who have rheumatoid arthritis and autoimmune disease would be very familiar with it, because it's a drug called Plaquenil, and they use it, some people use it daily. My mother-in-law has a giant peanut butter jar full of hydroxychloroquine at home.
So does my sister. She has lupus.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So now with all the lupus people used to always complain they got no attention. Now they're getting the attention.
Yes, and not only that, the pharmacist locally here says that this stuff's on back order. So, who would 2 weeks ago, if you had told me we were going to have people hoarding toilet paper and Plaquenil, I would have thought you were crazy. It's just, you can't make this stuff up.
Why am I getting fewer erections in captivity? What?
Okay.
Noam.
That wasn't my question.
That was your question. You wrote it down.
Yeah,
is Dawn listening all of a sudden?
It's Noam's question.
It's not my question. I've never had more erections.
Okay. Well,
I have one right now. Go ahead.
I have an answer for that. If
today, people on both.
Answer.
It could be both ways. When we were evolving as a species, the worst time to get an erection and try to have intercourse is when a saber-toothed tiger is chasing after you. So when you're under a lot of stress, you're going to be less likely to feel sexual because you have this fight or flight thing going on. And,
So it's not about spending more time with your wife.
No, I see. No. I don't think so. It's just, we're all pretty stressed out. I started feeling short of breath the other day, and I'm like, oh God, was something going on. I realized it was just anxiety. I used to have some pretty bad anxiety, and I haven't suffered from it in 30 years, and it kind of crept back a little bit.
The only way I get an erection if it's really stressed out, like if the cops are behind me.
And then you get it.
Yeah. If the rubber breaks and I don't know her name.
Very good.
Dr. C, what's going to happen here? How long are we in for this for?
There you go. That's what we all want to know.
I'm a little more optimistic today than I was yesterday, in that the testing is starting to hit. If we look here, the reason we're doing this is because at a 3% fatality rate, which is 30 times more than influenza this year. This year, influenza has killed 30,000 people in this country. No one bats an eye at that. It's I ain't getting my flu shot. They'll be the first ones to line up for a COVID-19 shot. But anyway, they, people just seem to ignore influenza. And what they're worried about is if this thing is actually 30 times more lethal than influenza, if the same number of people get it, then we're going to see 30 times 30,000, and it's going to be it will crush our medical system. And you say, well, it's just old people, people my age. I'm just an old piece of shit. And
That's
you know,
true.
who cares if I die? But the thing is that when I'm in the hospital for 6 weeks on the ventilator, and now the hospital is full of other patients just like this, if we let this all happen at once, then people can't get in for appendicitis, they can't get in for urinary tract infections, pneumonias, that kind of stuff. And so it, you know, there's this domino effect that trickles down that will be quite a mess. So that's what they're trying to avoid.
Let me ask you a question about that. If
Yep.
you have like a patient who's, you know, all the vents are taken, right? An 80-year-old guy in a vent, and then you
Yep.
have like a 30-year-old who
Yeah.
comes in who needs the vent. Do they pull the vent from
Classic.
the 80-year-old?
Classic ethical question is there's this principle of distributed justice, and it's a board question for residents and medical students, and it deals with distributing the resources that you have to the people for whom it will do the most good. And in this country, we've decided that we're going to ignore that principle for the most part, because we don't ration care. If someone says, I want you to do CPR on me, even though I've got, you know, stage 4 cancer and I'm 80 years old, we pretty much have to do it. And in a situation like this, yes, you will see those kinds of decisions being made. In that situation, you call the ethics committee together and they have to start making some difficult decisions. Right now, before COVID and before all these things happen, the ethics committee's got a pretty easy job in most hospitals, but it will become a very, very difficult job if we have to start making decisions like that.
But that's in this country, right? In Italy, they've already started to let
Yeah.
the older generation go, right?
Yeah, that's what I hear. I haven't read further accounts of that, but understand that they're running very short on ventilators. And these folks stay on the vent for a long time, which is, by the way, one of the reasons why we need to have an effective treatment. Because if we can shorten that period of time, we can get people out. And if we can reduce the lethality of this virus down to where influenza is, we can handle that. You know, even if a lot of people get it, if we can shorten the duration and shorten the severity with whatever it ends up being, remdesivir or chloroquine. There's another company that's working on monoclonal antibodies that will give people an immune response to this as if they'd had the disease for 6 weeks. And it would just be an infusion of antibodies, which are the things that are in very short supply when we've never seen this virus before. So there's a lot of people working very hard, and but the chloroquine thing, if it pans out, if the data pans out, we have it right now. We don't have to wait for it.
I have a question, but maybe you don't know the answer or you don't want to answer. Are you following the politics of this very closely?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, how can you avoid it? Yeah.
So my question is this: we probably all agree that Trump is a jackass, and he was downplaying it, and then he's always putting his ego into it, and all that stuff. But in reality, there's two issues here, right? One is testing, and the other one is social distancing. What was he late to the game? How late was he responsible is he for the fact that we're late with testing? And how responsible is he for the fact that we were late with imposing social distancing? If we had the best president we could have, how different could things actually be, do you think?
Well, you know, the president is, you know, the chief executive, and the CDC, you know, the Centers for Disease Control are, you know, he's not a doctor. So I don't know what he was being told. I know that their initial approach to this was containment. In other words, let's seal off the borders. It's not going to come here if we seal off the borders. And the problem with that is it's not a bad idea if you can pull it off. But the issue is, while you're buying yourself time, you got to do something with that time. You need to get test kits going. The CDC was behind the 8 ball on that because their original test kits were defective. I had Dr. Arnold Hoplin, who was on the Diamond Princess cruise line. He's 70 something years old, sailed through this thing. And he said that the WHO test that they originally used did not have the sufficient sensitivity. In other words, It was giving false negatives. And so that's why the CDC chose not to use that test and develop their own, which is great. But the first test kits were defective, and then they had to start over again. Right now, we're getting ready to be kicking some ass, but we are a little bit behind the 8 ball. So if I had any criticism.
So does the president have his fingerprints on any of what you just described?
I mean, I don't know what he was being told. He's not a doctor, you know. If there was an ego thing, and that's why we did containment and then didn't do anything else, and that's on him, that'll come out later.
Right.
Honestly, I'm less worried about the politics of it right now and just trying to get a solution to this, because
the next issue is the social distancing. Like,
yes,
I was kind of outraged because New York, the CDC was already recommending, which I even thought this was dumb, no gatherings of 50 or less, 50 or more. But at that time, New York State was insisting on 500 or more. So the CDC was already giving recommendations which were more proactive, more conservative and New York was ignoring them.
Yeah.
So that doesn't seem like that's the federal government's mistake.
Yeah.
New York ignoring them?
What?
What'd you say, Marina?
Was New York ignoring them? I'm not sure if that's correct.
Well, they chose, the CDC was recommending that they shut down all events of 50 or more. And Cuomo started with 500 or more. There were a bunch of states that weren't even that impacted, which had already closed their school system. And New York waited till the kicking and screaming closed its school system. I pulled my kids out 2 weeks ago and my preschooler 3 weeks ago because the state wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. We were operating from a position of, I don't know if you ever play poker, but it's a game where you have incomplete information. And that was kind of what happened here. They had to make a bet that this thing was either going to be worse than they thought or better than they thought. And, that still remains to be seen, to be honest with you. I mean, we're still in a country of 320 million people. We only have 3,500 documented cases so far.
So they're saying that now that in April, this is going to explode. Once people start getting tested, it's going to explode and it's going to get worse. And we're going to have to live this life for maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, maybe until August. We're going to have to live this weird, fucked up social distancing home life.
Well, look at China, and
that's true. Just going to ease up in the next couple of weeks.
Well, if you look at China, their curve increased exponentially, and then it leveled off, and they've leveled off at about 80,000 cases out of a country of 1 billion people. That's 0.008% of the population. If we can hold ours down to 0.008% of our population, we're talking 24,000 cases and about 800 deaths if the 3% holds. And maybe even quite a bit less than that now that we may have some treatments coming down the pike. So, and you wonder, well, how in the heck did they level it off so quickly? Well, they did social distancing. They are a totalitarian government, so it may be a little bit easier for them to tell people stay inside and don't go out. But there is this other idea that perhaps the population around those cases were asymptomatically infected, and now they've got this sort of herd immunity around Hunan province, and it's just not spreading anymore because it can't go anywhere. So it will be very interesting to see. Only time will tell on that, but I'm very encouraged by their percentage of the population that ended up being infected. Now, of course, that could explode again tomorrow, but go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
That the news, though, I have like a mother who, I don't know why, but she watches Fox News and she's Black and I don't get it. But she doesn't.
She isn't the only one.
Oh my God. But she's getting like, she yelled at me because I don't even want to go into, but she loves that man. And my mother is getting incorrect information though. And when I told her about what you just said about China, she's like, they're not, the American reporters are not allowed in China anymore. So how do you know that's true? Like she doesn't believe that the data coming from that they're reporting coming from China is real.
Yeah. And how do we know? I mean, even during the Cold War, scientists from Russia and at that time the Soviet Union and the United States shared data. So there is this sort of unwritten rule of science that if you're a true scientist, you're going to share your data. So I'm really hoping that the data coming from China is accurate, because if it isn't, then we've got a bigger problem than we thought. But if it is accurate, what's coming out of there is actually very encouraging.
It can't be.
Can I say something to the people at home?
Yeah.
If you're watching this right now and you've never actually been to the Comedy Cellar, this is exactly what it's like. Just hard-hitting news and medical panels.
Right.
Yeah, it's
incisive scientific questions.
Need someone like Keith Robinson here to go, I know everything that's going on.
Yeah.
It can't be accurate because it's just like Chernobyl. This is a national shame for them, a national humiliation. So they're going to try to put the best face on it, no matter what, especially when it's impacting the whole world. It's like Chernobyl in a lot of ways. Did everybody see Chernobyl? There was that scene where they measured the total radiation by the limit of the Geiger counters. That was that ridiculous thing, and they said no, it was only 3 whatever because they were just pinned. Yeah, that's what we were doing. We were measuring the number of cases by the number of test kits we have.
Right.
We don't know how many cases there are. We just know we have 30 test kits, so there must be 30 cases. Yeah. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Steve, I have a question. Steve, I have a question, Steve. You know, I mean, it's not a mandatory quarantine, obviously. It's just what everybody seems to be doing by strong suggestion, and everybody is doing it. But I'm having debates, like Ari Shafir and I were debating this last night. You know, I was like, look, dude, you know, I'll leave the house to go to the supermarket and I'll be careful. You know, I'm not wearing masks and a glove or in gloves or whatever, but I am very careful. I'm not leaving the house for any unnecessary reason. But I also said, like, look, man, if I live in the same neighborhood as Jay Okerson, it's like, if Jay wants to hang out with me, I'm going to go over and hang out with him. Sure. I'm not going to live like a sterilized lunatic. Like, I'm going to try to find some balance. But there are people out there that are saying, no, you can't even do that. You should not encounter anybody from the outside at all, ever. You should never go on a social date, meaning getting together with somebody, just watching a movie or playing a fucking board game or something.
Right.
And I think that that's absurd. But yeah, I'm asking, I guess, am I wrong in thinking that's a little crazy?
No, I don't think so. Look, the way that this is spread is from, for the most part, person to person contact. That's close contact. So, if neither of you have a fever and neither of you are coughing, it's very unlikely that you all are going to be at risk. Now, the other thing, Joe, how old are you now?
42.
Okay, 42-year-olds have a 0.4% chance of dying from this.
Right.
But he smokes.
Right.
Yeah, it's actually, there's no real data on just smoking by itself, but if you have emphysema or chronic bronchitis from it, then that puts you in another group altogether.
I'm 57. What are my odds?
57 would be 1.3%.
That's not great.
That's okay. It's 98.7% chance that you're not going to die, which if I gave you those odds, you would go to Vegas and bet everything you've got on black.
Not if I was going to die.
I love China. I just sold an apartment for $15 million to somebody from China.
Trump thing. No idea.
About the family.
Hang on a second. I'm sorry. I've been trying here. To that point, though, to what Joe said with not infecting other people, isn't it just about not spreading it? So even if neither of us are going to die, wouldn't we not want to?
Yes.
Tapping that volleyball back. So that's what I'm trying to understand.
No, of course. I'm just trying to make him feel better about it.
I get it. What should I actually?
But my question.
Wash your hands. don't touch your stupid face with your stupid fingers. And if you were on it, I was in a meeting the other day and my boss kept licking her finger and flipping the things. And I reached over and grabbed her hand. I said, you've got to stop doing that. And then I looked over and she's biting her fingernails. It's like, that's the person who's healthy who needs to wear a mask. Because we recommend that you only wear a mask if you're in close contact with someone that's known infected, so healthcare providers, or if you're sick yourself, so that when you cough, you're not spraying droplets around. I mean, but there are some people who are healthy who should wear a mask, and those are people that just can't keep their fingers out of their face.
Yeah, like Dan Natterman will give everybody this.
Now look at what Bobby just did.
I have a beef, I think, with the medical community. You go first, Joe. You go first.
I have a second part to my question. So when you said the thing about if you don't have a fever, you're not showing symptoms, it's probably fine. What about the counter argument to that every time is, yeah, but you could have it for 2 weeks and not even know. So that's bullshit. So what do you say to that?
What I say to that is that the data that we have right now is that the highest degree of transmissibility is when people are actually symptomatic. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't have asymptomatic transmission. Obviously, there is some of that, and maybe even a significant amount. But it's close contact and people who are not, who are being coughed on and not washing their hands when they touch things, because there's two major ways of transmission. One, I cough on you and a droplet filled with COVID-19, viruses. Actually, COVID-19 is the disease that the SARS-CoV-2 virus causes, just to be perfectly accurate in our nomenclature. But when I cough on you and you get a droplet on your face and it ends up in your mouth or your nose or your eye, that's the way that this would be transmitted to you if we were in very close contact. Another way, though,
Joe, not your dick. Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I know.
Right.
I was going to ask,
if I coughed on your dick and then I put it in, never mind. So
what about when Bobby coughs on me and Steven gets on my face?
Isn't the corona part of the anatomy of the penis, actually?
The head.
No. Well,
no, the crown. I think it is.
Oh, there's a crown, yes, but
it's called the corona.
I've never called it a corona, but you can certainly call it whatever you like.
I dated a lot of Spanish girls.
The other way that you can transmit this, and this is more theoretical because we don't have accurate, again, data on numbers of cases that are transmitted this way, but if you cough on your hand and then touch a doorknob, and there's trillions of viral particles on that knob, and then someone comes behind you and grabs the doorknob and doesn't wash their hands and then sticks their finger in their nose or their eyes or their mouth, and then they get it that way. And that's called fomite transmission. A fomite is any inanimate object that can be a reservoir for viral or bacterial particles, that people can pick up and get disease from. So
I have a question. Okay. First, I just want to say, I looked at Wikipedia, the corona glands of the penis. This is actually, it refers to, so anyway, I remember that.
Okay, I had anatomy 40 years ago. I've never called it the corona, but yeah, okay.
So
I'm with you. Good, you got
how excited he is.
Here, I'm very excited. I know. No, I'm going to give him one of these.
Oh,
wait, I got to get.
There you go.
So, but here's my thing.
He gave you a thumbs up.
COVID-19. It's backwards, Marina.
I thought it was doing it the right way.
Here's my question. I'm worried about the unintended. Oh yeah, that's good. I'm worried about the unintended consequence of this hand washing thing. We got it, Marina. We got it. Everybody I know.
I didn't get it.
Everybody I know, I'm telling to be careful, including old people. Like, no, we're washing our hands. We're washing our hands.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't think there's many people who are avoiding this by washing their hands. Maybe people are avoiding spreading it, as you said, by they cough into their hands and then wash before they touch somebody. But I don't think it protects you much from what percentage of transmissions do you think were preventable by the person who received it if they had washed their hands? Because it's a very false sense of security, I think.
I don't know the numbers, but I can tell you this: the most dangerous thing in the hospital is an unwashed hand, because you can take infections from one place to the next. And so we have protocols that mandate us washing our hands as we go in a room and washing them as we come out. Now you can substitute gel for that, but the reason soap is recommended in this virus is because its lipoprotein coat is very susceptible to soap. Soap is just basically a fat that's been placed in the presence of a strong base, and it picks up a water-soluble group. So you've got a fat group and a water-soluble group. And so it is soluble in water, but also will solubilize fat. And the viral coat cannot stand soap for even, a millisecond. So it really is better even than alcohol. So.
But like you hear these stories, who was this kind of like super spreader? Was it a Hasidic wedding or something? Or there was another case where, a tremendous number of people were infected at the same event.
Sure. Look at the.
They couldn't help themselves by washing their hands, right? They needed to not be at that event.
Presumably that person was just coughing on them or coughed on the food or whatever. So yeah, it's not perfect, but if you have two people who aren't coughing, and just as Joe was talking about, when you leave there, before you stick your fingers in your face, you wash your hands, and it will prevent. It's hard to prove a negative. Right. So it's hard to know exactly how many people have had that, but the hand washing to prevent infection goes way back to the early days of surgery, and people laughed at that back then until they could show through data, through scientific endeavor, that the number of post-operative infections declined significally, almost as nothing, when the surgeons would wash their hands.
So this is going to change.
I don't want to dwell on it, but I just want to make just what I'm saying, that I fully understand the danger of spreading something by not the surgeon to the patient.
Yeah, I got it.
The patient on the operating table can prevent it by washing his hands. So that I don't. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah. Well, if people are getting this by sticking their fingers in their face, which is felt to be a significant cause of this disease, then hand washing indeed would prevent those infections.
Yeah. This is going to change the way everybody lives, though. From now on, people are going to wash their hands, have Purell, baby wipes, the planes, opening doors. This is we're all going to be Howie Mandel. Now.
It's not bad in the hospital. I'll tell you, I've seen a lot better hand hygiene in the hospital since this started. And I'm just hoping that these habits that people are getting will actually carry on, because they're in the hospital, particularly, those are good habits. It's funny how quickly this stuff changes, because just last night, my wife and I were watching some reality show on Netflix, and everybody was hugging, and we were like, what are they doing? Stop doing that. It's just crazy. It was just 2 weeks ago, we would have been hugging everybody too.
I bow at people now. I do this.
Yes, I think that's what we need to do.
We need to start bowing.
Japan has the lowest cases, and they're just as dense.
Because they bow.
Yeah, what's funny is the handshake comes from ancient Greece, and you would present your hand to the other person to prove that you didn't have a weapon in it. I think in 2020, we can do away with that tradition. It's a little archaic.
But once they cure this thing, why can't we just go back to shaking hands?
Because shaking hands is stupid. It's an alpha
shaking hands
thing.
is stupid. I've advocated for that for a long time.
It was bad for the flu. Always told. I don't know if you noticed that, no, but I never shook hands, and people would always give me the nastiest of looks, and I'm like, walk away then. I don't care.
Yeah, but you don't even hug us.
Well, Marina, you're vindicated now. Nobody's gonna shake hands or hug for some time.
I got literally the week that we were supposed to be winding down, I got like the angriest looks for not shaking hands.
I did too. I was at the Comedy Cellar. One of the new managers walked up. Hey, how are you? I'm blah, blah, blah. And he did that alpha male, stuck his hand out. And I was like, are you nuts? And he was like, oh, like I'm the asshole.
Yeah. I just make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's COVID. And then,
the old Potsy Weber.
Yeah. Potsy. And nobody laughs, but it's an attempt.
Nobody's laughed this whole podcast so far, except when I.
Jesus God Almighty!
Greatest president.
Wow.
What other stuff do you guys want to talk about? Infant fatality. What other?
I did want to ask you about the.
Abortion.
Right.
Can I ask you about that thing I showed about how long it can survive on like plastic?
Put it back up.
Cardboard. It's 2 to 3 days, Like, so now when I get mail, like it's quarantined for 2 to 3 days, or I clean it. You know,
the most recent study I saw said cardboard was 24 hours. But yeah, it's being viable on the surface and being infectious are two different things. If that makes any sense. So when it says 9 days for plastic or stainless steel, for example, it doesn't mean, like, let's say you put 1 billion viruses on viral particles on some stainless steel. It doesn't mean for 9 days there's 1 billion and then on day 10 there's none. It's actually an exponential decrease over time. So the infectability goes down, even though you can maybe detect particles on or even RNA, because that's really what they're looking at, right, is genetic material. It doesn't mean that that genetic material is infective. So to my knowledge, there's no cases of anyone that can prove that they got this disease from a stainless steel refrigerator 9 days after somebody deposited something on it. Now,
but what about,
is it possible?
What about the, Steve, what about this might be a very obvious question or dumb question, but like, if you're saying it can in theory live for 24 hours on cardboard, I hand you a 2 foot wide piece of cardboard like this. Right. Does that mean just there is where it lives, or once it's on there, does it spread on the surface?
Well, if you coughed on it is really what this is. Droplet transmission is what they're really concerned about. If somebody hawks a loogie on your box at Amazon, and when it gets to your door, do you need to worry about it? And I will be perfectly honest with you. I've wiped a couple of boxes down that I got from Amazon, and then later on, I've just kind of blown that off. So I haven't seen evidence of infectability. I've seen evidence. Now, look, I don't want to be irresponsible here either. The truth is, I don't know. I don't know if you could get it that way. You know, in theory, if there's viral particles on something, and again, if you put your hands on it and then put it in your mouth, then in theory, that could happen if there are enough viral particles there. Again, to Noam's point, that would be a perfect example of a time to wash your hands before you stick your fingers in your mouth, because that's the only way you could get it from that. It's not going to leap off of the cardboard into your face.
So this is true. I had an exercise bike delivered to my house today, and they set it up in the garage, and I figured I was going to leave it in the garage for a certain number of days until I got to bring it into the house. How long do I need to leave this thing in the garage?
Well, if there's stainless steel or chrome on there, looking at the data that Marina had, 9 days would be how many days there would be viral particles on there. Why don't you just wipe the thing down?
Because I'm afraid
if you're worried about it.
You've never seen me clean something, but I'm not very thorough. I'm afraid I'm going to miss the part.
Hey, I have a question. Greg, have you been masturbating the whole?
Yeah. I came a few times, but they wasn't good. Nothing to be proud of.
Gotcha. Okay. I saw your face. I just thought you were okay. Great.
Yeah. This is like normal.
Well, Dr. Steve, what?
Can you produce a Corona baby?
Yeah, that's what I want. Corona babies.
I mean, it can be passed in the womb from the mother.
No, doesn't. It's not like Zika. It doesn't appear to pose any threat to a fetus, and really no particular threat to pregnant women. They have the same risk as everybody else their same age. So,
what about a guy who looks pregnant?
I wouldn't know who you'd be talking about. So.
What's the risk for somebody 76 years old?
76. Right now is 8%. Now this is death rate, all known cases. Remember, that could be much less than that if we take into account undiagnosed, untested cases that have gone, that were asymptomatic.
But okay, but as I said, in the abundance of caution, if you're 76 years old,
yeah.
What do you do? Like, what if you live with somebody? Should you ask the person you live with to stop going to work?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, look, this is very hard. if you're 76 and you've got somebody, let's say your wife is 40 and she's going out and going to work, then she's got to be very careful when she comes back home. She's got to be careful when she's out there, and she's got to be careful when she comes home to go through her protocol. And you just do the best that you can. I mean, you still have to kind of live your life. They're not asking everybody yet to to go into the panic room, but it's everybody's got to make that decision for themselves.
Yeah, well, if I was 76, or if I knew somebody 76, I would tell them absolutely not. You don't leave the house. Right. Nobody in your house leaves the house. Get them a hotel room to go stay somewhere else, because I don't see how you can be careful.
I think that for some people that's going to be their answer, and it's not unreasonable in the sense that if you want to minimize your exposure to the outside world and this virus, then how else are you going to do it? But you still got to eat.
I love how Noam's like, just get him a hotel room for 2 months.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right,
like everybody can just throw down a fucking $185 a day for the DoubleTrees.
What we really need to concentrate on is getting a treatment for this quickly.
You make a good point, Robert. I get it.
Steve, I'm trying not to go outside like they're telling us to, but my favorite bar is inside my local nursing home. Is it bad if I go drink?
Now we're getting into the funny. Let's go, baby.
Folks,
come on, Joey.
What are we doing here?
Come on. Greg, you're up. What do you got?
Like, I got a real question. It's fun. Who knows? Maybe we'll see. Dr. Steve, I don't know. It could be anything. I'm pretty stupid. It might be funny that way. Dr. Steve, beards, mustaches, is this thing better or worse? Is it protecting me or is it harboring it? Should I shave?
Excellent question. Again, I don't have any data on that. You could presume that if you're snotting, if you have the disease and you snot into your mustache because you blow your nose and it's going to, it goes all over, that's disgusting, that there will be viral particles there longer than if it were just on your skin, presumably. As far as protecting you from anything, I'm trying to come up with a scenario how that could protect you, so I could give you a balanced answer, but I can't come up with one.
Well, those
Steve,
though don't cover certain beards correctly, so
that's right.
Actually get in the way. You have the perfect mustache, I think.
Thank you.
For someone.
She didn't mean that.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Steve.
So yeah.
Steve, can you give us any information about the sex toy shop your podcast?
Yeah, for cruising gay men in the 70s.
Yes. Sorry. This is my normal podcast. See, normally I don't show my face, and so I have to have a little bit of color in here. So
okay, all right. I was just lighting the mood.
Of course.
Black light podcast.
Took me a second.
Yeah.
Sexy this up a little bit.
Yeah, I have these LifeX bulbs in here. They're awesome, by the way. And I can change them to any color I want. And now that I see myself on there, it doesn't look savory, does it?
No, it looks very
unsavory.
I have those, no bullshit. I have those in every lamp in my apartment, and you can change the color with your phone on an app.
There you go. Yeah.
Which I thought was so cool until the first time I had a date over here, and you look like a real creep when you're like, "You want me to change the color?" And you change the whole apartment to like red. You look like a fucking psycho.
Joe has it. There's no way you don't have it.
Who knows?
You have the bars you hang out in, and the people you touch, and the things you do after your last spot. You definitely have it.
Maneve, I was talking to Russ Maneve today, and he goes, DeRosa, I heard you have it, and they had to quarantine the virus.
That's pretty good.
Kevin Brennan is like patient zero, right?
100%.
Do we know anyone who has
a little
it?
bit about the Diamond Princess, if I could. The Diamond Princess was this cruise ship, and they tested every single person on that cruise ship, and so it gives us a little microcosm of where we might be with this thing. A lot of the people on that ship were elderly. The 1% of people that got the virus that were on that ship who died were all elderly. Only 17% of people got it. And the guy that I interviewed, by the way, you can listen to the podcast either on demand on SiriusXM or at drsteve.com or riotcast.com. And he lived with his wife in that room on their cruise ship. They were confined to their quarters, and he never got it. So I find that very interesting. And but that's the one time when they tested everybody in a confined area where everyone had been sort of, you know, they'd all been hugging each other and shaking hands and sharing food and at the buffet, and gave sort of an idea of what the transmissibility of this thing may be. Which wow. So,
it's just that story that came out of Jersey about the family is what.
Oh yeah,
that freaked me out a little bit.
They said it was a rare case, but I feel like they need to study that more, because what happened? Did the guy sneeze over everything? And then the parents were 50, the elder was 70, and the kids are in intensive care.
Right. They may have a genetic predisposition. There are host factors. For example, the guy I interviewed is 70 something years old, and he didn't even get it. And his wife got it, and she just sailed right through. And then you've got other people who, you know, like this family that just seem to be very susceptible to it. So this is sort of that natural variation in human beings. That's a good thing. That's unlikely that any one virus can come through and kill us all. I mean, I read The Stand. Even then, there were a few people that lived. But, you know, because of this natural variation in our species, there will be some people will be naturally resistant to some things. And if everyone else dies and they're the only ones left in an extreme situation, then their progeny presumably will be resistant to that. And that's how evolution and natural selection happens. So it is.
Our friend Harry Enton is listening to this apparently from CNN, and he thinks we should move it along.
Okay, sorry.
All right. Well,
I know I'm boring.
Not you, Dr. Steve.
No, it's us.
It's us, not you.
No, it's totally me. I just go on and on and on. And
no.
Not at all.
You know what? I should say, to be clear, his point was we talk about this every night, and he wants.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with you.
Harry actually stopped listening. He said he was going to go watch South Park.
Well, we're gonna. I want to thank you, Dr. Steve, so much for coming on. And
Dr. Steve is the best. Yeah, he writes me nice emails from time to time.
Will you come back on again?
Oh, absolutely.
In the future.
Yeah. These test kits, I ordered a case of them. I'll be able to give you some a very small sample size when we start testing people around here.
Yes.
So I'll let you know.
Can we do a show? Can we do a show with Dr. Steve about sexual stuff? Sexual diseases and stuff?
Yeah, sure. What type of sexual stuff you want to talk about, creepy?
You call me creepy?
Well, I mean,
I'm 64. I've been married for 30 years. I don't know what I would possibly know about sexual stuff, but I'll give it a try.
you must have treated a penile trauma or two in your day.
Yes, that I have. Penile fractures I can tell you about all day.
And speaking of that,
now we have a show.
He has a wonderful show on Riotcast, the Laugh Button network, called Weird Medicine. It's one of my favorite shows on our network, and it is. Dr. Steve, can you tell us a little about it before you take off?
Yeah, well, it was the first and is still only uncensored medical show ever in the history of broadcast radio. And then Bobby was gracious enough to call me and ask he and Rob Sprance if we'd put the podcast version on Riotcast. And I'm very happy to have been one of the charter members, not the charter member, obviously, but I was in that first group. So. Yeah, Thank you for your support over all the years, because, I had a degree in radio, television, motion pictures, and I went to medical school. I always tried to figure out some way I could merge the two, and this was perfect for me.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite shows, and it's funny, and it's informative, and him and his doctor friends, it's great. Weird Medicine. Check it out on Riotcast and iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe and tell them you came from here. All right, thanks, Dr. Steve.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Stay healthy. Wash your hands.
Take care.
Thank you. Wash your hands.
I don't know if
I'm looking at you, Marina.
All right, looking at you. All right, here we go. All right, now let's get funny. All right. Anybody got any new Corona bits?
I think you got to do it the opposite way, because the people who tuned in for funny obviously tuned out already, and the people who are interested in the interesting stuff are going to tune out when it gets funny.
Well, look, I think that, this thing that we're doing right now, we're figuring it out. And, this weekend, Friday night, tomorrow night, Saturday night, we're going to do it live from the VU with a couple comics live. And it's going to be different. I think we're going to be talking about stand-up. We're figuring out a way how to put clips in this video. So we'll be able to talk about clips, watch Joe's clip or Greg's or Marina's clip, talk to them about the bit, and you'll be able to see stand-up and funny. What is that?
What? I've been working.
It doesn't matter if you're muscular in shape
I want
now.
To focus and say, go work out.
So I think,
Liz, why is it taking so long to be able to show clips?
Regu, why is it taking so long to be able to show clips?
I've never seen somebody pass the buck like that.
I'm asking a question. Say it again, Regu.
All I heard was it's Regu's fault.
That's all I heard.
Any one of you can share a clip using Zoom.
How?
Why don't you tell us that?
How do you?
It's the share screen button on the bottom of your Zoom player.
Share screen?
On the bottom of your Zoom player.
Just play something on VLC player.
Oh, I see it.
Oh, so we have to get the thing.
Something that you would like to share.
And then get the thing we'd like to share. Okay.
Yeah. You could use anything from a media player or whatever.
Yeah, the permissions have been granted.
Is somebody doing something right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Noam's.
Oh, Noam's doing
something. Yeah, I thought my thing shut down, but
I thought my thing shut down too. So Noam's gonna. Oh, there you go.
Can you see Robert?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. I can't hear me, but it's going slow. I mean, I look good.
Optimize for video.
Yeah, you have to optimize for video.
Yeah, that's an option.
Yeah, you have to
There is an
optimize.
option just to optimize for video.
Where is that?
So does it work or not?
We could see it, but I just don't think it's optimized for video.
How do you optimize it?
It's video. How do I optimize video for video?
In the Zoom.
Yeah, the Zoom itself, I think. Hold on.
All right, we'll do this another time, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, this is what we're gonna be able to go in here this weekend. Everybody watching, I know you. Be funny. We're trying to be funny, but we're also trying to get through this. When September 11th happened, we had to talk about it. We had to get through it. We had to ask our questions and do our thing. And this thing's gonna evolve into that too. As soon as we figure out the technology, this is all new to everybody here. So we just want to be here for the fans of the Comedy Cellar and fans of stand up. And have interesting conversations with us, the people you like watching doing stand-up, and then we'll add the stand-up in this weekend, and we'll be able to do that too. It won't always be this.
Hey,
it's gonna be funny.
Can we put Robert? We lost you. Can you put Regu on for 1 second?
Regu, can you put some headphones on and get on the mic, please? And Bobby, can you stop sharing?
We lost Robert.
I didn't
No,
share
Robert's
a screen.
still sharing his screen.
I am.
Noam, I guess Noam's sharing his screen.
No, I'm sharing the screen, not me.
I'm not sharing.
No,
you stopped.
No, you got to close whatever you did because it's taking up the whole. It's yeah, there you go.
Okay. Well, we still lost
But
Robert.
Bobby, Bobby, your picture's gone.
All right. Well, I mean, here we go.
You gotta get better. So I want to just talk to Regu. Let Regu sit down for just 1 second. I want to ask Regu one question.
Yeah, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is he coming, Liz?
He's on the other mic. He's sitting by the other computer.
No, I gotta see him. He's gotta sit in your side.
He wants to see you, Regu. Come here.
Oh, okay, got it.
So this is Regu, our engineer genius. It sounded sarcastic, but I meant it.
Yeah, what's up, no? Hi.
Regu, so here's this question. So you come from another country. Tell everybody you come from. Tell everybody.
Yeah, I come from Singapore. I lived in Mongolia for 8 years. Studied in London.
So what is your perception of the American system, as opposed to like how it's handled in your country and countries that you've lived in?
Like I was rushed to the ER like about 3 weeks ago, right? And the bill came, and luckily my wife has great insurance, but for half a day in the ER, we were charged like $22,000. And if I wasn't covered, I'd be paying that. That's not the case in Singapore. The government.
But I meant about the pandemic stuff.
Oh, the pandemic stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the question again?
Like what do you have any? Do you look at what's going on here and say to yourself, "Wow, they're moving it along"? How would it?
Yeah, the American government doesn't have
Singapore.
Well, you guys don't have your shit together, man. It's like it's like an audio board, right? You see feedback and you bring all the faders down. This is overreaction because they don't have their shit together. Like in Singapore and all the Asian countries, like, we had SARS before, we had pandemics before, so we were prepared. You guys are not prepared at all.
You're here. You're us. You guys, right?
I gotta say, Liz, you probably got whatever he has because you.
Everybody's saying that.
There's definitely dropping.
Social distancing fail.
No. Seriously,
kiss her on the mouth. Come on.
No. If you go to the Singaporean government's website, right, that tracks all these cases, they have a play-by-play about what the clusters are, how people got infected, all of that. It's full transparency.
All right.
How many people are in Singapore?
Go ahead.
There are. It's like 35 kilometers by 50 kilometers. Very small island. We've got about 9 million people cramped in there.
Right. We have 300 million, correct? 300 something million.
But Rego just made a really, really important point that kind of slipped by everybody, I think. I read this somewhere else a couple days ago, but I forgot about it, which is that in these countries in Asia, including South Korea, they have had miniature pandemics before. And much of the competence that they're showing is because they have experience.
Right.
And it's perfectly normal that a country that's never been through it. I mean, we've always known about it. It's like Louisiana always knew the dams could break before Katrina. They knew about it for 100 years, but nobody ever actually acts on it. And so part of the reason they're doing so much better than us is because this wasn't just fantasy to them. They actually are prepared from their mistakes in the past. So,
but is this going to be a way of life now? Are we going to be hit with this stuff all the time now? Or is this, I mean,
well, the way
is this going to
what
be?
Noam just said is going to help. The fact that we're going through it now will better prepare us. Because I
prepare us for it, but this hasn't happened in a while, correct?
But it did happen. The SARS happened.
But that wasn't like this. It didn't hit us like that.
Them.
What?
It was to them in a sense. It was not this.
But I'm saying to us, are we as Americans going to have to deal with this all the time now?
We should expect it. It just happened. So here's the thing. I've been saying this, and I know it's very anti-American, but the culture of America right now is what's going to kill it. It's like you.
The greatest president that God ever created.
If we just pay attention, we just watch those millennials on the beach.
Yeah.
That's a great of what's going to happen here.
No, also I want to say all you need is a vaccine. Once the vaccine, is proven and it works, everyone is good. And Americans, the whole world. So you can't just say it's America.
California just issued a stay-at-home order. Everybody has to stay at home in California right now. The whole state.
Yeah, my sister's in San Francisco. She's been staying at home for the past week.
It's all over the news right now.
But they can go out, right? To like walk
down.
the dog.
24-hour stay at home.
I think they can go to the grocery store and back. So
and for exercise.
After 9/11, we were all sure we were going to have to change our way of life. It was going to be permanent. There was going to be people going subways, and we're just not well equipped to handle this kind of thing. But I think that after this passes in a short time, we're going to be right back to where we were.
But we did change the way our lives. Flying is a fucking nightmare now. Used to be able to go right on the flight, no problem. I have to join TSA, Clear, Global One just to make it through the airport on a reasonable time.
Yeah, we changed
having
TSA,
to take off everything.
But people were afraid to go on the subway. People were afraid. We were saying, oh, no one's ever going to buy an office in a high tower anymore. And more importantly, we were sure that this was going to be the beginning of terrorism becoming like a normal way of life.
Right.
And it didn't happen, which is not to say that it couldn't have happened, but it just, as humans, we tend to overshoot.
Can I ask a question to the comics?
Again. Yeah.
Can I ask a question to the comedians in here?
Yeah.
If you had no lockdown, shows were still happening. If you had the virus or you had symptoms, but you felt all right, you had a little fever, a little dry cough, and you knew, okay, I might have this, would you still go do your spot?
No.
I wasn't doing it when I didn't have any symptoms.
Greg?
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. Why would I do that?
Well, because comics bothers me about comedians is that they'll have the flu or a cold and they'll still go out and do spots, grab the microphone, do their shit, and then you walk up, oh, I'm sick. Why the fuck are you here? Well, I had to do my spots.
Yeah.
No,
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
But let me give you another example. Joe, SD gives you 6 spots, Friday and Saturday, 6 spots a night at the Cellar. You're in 6 spots. You have the fucking,
What's happening.
You have it. Are you coming to do them?
No, I wouldn't.
7, you're on every show at the Cellar and you're back in and she's like, come have dinner with me.
Listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not staying home out of virtue for the health because I care about anybody else. Any excuse I have to not work, I won't do. So I'll just be like, oh, I'm sick. I can't make it, man. You know?
I love working.
No.
Can I just say this to
I
Liz?
like working too, but I like days off, you know?
God, what'd you say?
I just want to say this to Liz. Be very careful with the dog, you know? Don't let anyone pet your dog. That's your dog?
He's staying. No, that's someone outside barking. My dog is he's staying away from people and he gets a full wipe down every day.
Oh, okay. All right.
When we go in the house, he gets a full.
All right. I just care about you, Liz.
Thanks, Marina.
That's a good question, Robert, by the way. I think I think that you're right, that it's very difficult for people to people are full of shit. You know, this kind of empathy, it has a short half-life, and inconvenience it goes in the opposite direction, you know?
I have to be honest right now.
Leave the house at somewhere. It's like if you push a button somewhere, somebody in the world's gonna die, but you get to have anything you want, and you won't know that person, and then you know you did it. A lot of people push the button. That's what
I want to be honest with Greg Stone right now. Can I be honest with you, Greg?
Oh yeah.
Remember a couple weeks ago, we were at Mohegan Sun?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sick as a dog.
Yeah, I knew. I could tell, but I could tell. I saw him like, this guy, you just had the way you spit on that lady in the front row after she kind of heckled. I saw that was with intention. You were like, I'm going to kill this bitch.
Well, I mean, what percentage of how does herpes get passed? Except by people
Joe?
They're back.
Except by people who have it and don't say they have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's funny, Noam. It's funny that you bring up the herpes example, because if you've ever read, no, but listen, if you have ever read a pamphlet about herpes, it reads a lot like they're talking to us about this, where they say like, you could have it, but not know you have it. You could have symptoms, but it might not be that. It might be this. It gets to the point where you go, you know what? Everybody's just got it, I guess. What are you gonna do?
All right, listen, we're almost at 2 hours. We got to wrap this up. We're gonna be coming back on again tomorrow night and every night. We're gonna be going a little earlier, I believe, at 6 o'clock. Correct?
We're gonna try for 6. Yeah.
We're gonna try for 6. That way, if anything happens with this live version, don't worry. We're still gonna record it, and it will be up on the Comedy Cellar YouTube page for you to enjoy. And like I said, we're gonna evolve this. There's gonna be stand-up. We're gonna be, right now we're just kind of getting it out of our system. And Dr. Steve was amazing with all the questions. We hope you enjoyed it. So I want to go to Marina. What do you got, Marina, to promote? What are you doing to survive? Do you have anything we should go and support?
Yeah, what I'm doing, you could just go see my special, Single Black Female. It's on all platforms, not Netflix, but you could see it on Amazon. If you're a member, you could stream it for free. And you could also check out my podcast, Friends Like Us, and see some of the episodes before, because I don't know if we'll be doing anything next week.
But your podcast is a people of color podcast, correct?
What?
It is, and I'm getting a little flack because during this time I can't get women of color together as a group, and I'm gonna try to do the Zoom thing. But I just put out Judy Gold's interview, and they're coming back. They're like being really nasty with me. They're like, we thought this was like a black podcast, and I'm like, I have a white once a month.
Robert's gonna get the same shit about you probably, but it's all right.
Yeah, we have a black once a month.
So that's pretty much it. And I run. This is what I'm doing to survive. I run. I have a plan every day. I try to do something. I even did like a virtual kind of date last night, which was nice.
Oh, with
and
who?
I go to the Rite Aid at midnight and 6 a.m. just to see what's going on. That's my fun time.
All right, Marina, check her out. I love you. Stay safe. Greg Stone, what do you have, buddy?
Any money you donate to me, just give to St. Jude's.
No.
Just kidding. Check out the Rat Dudecast. It's more goofy shit. I'm more of a goofy guy.
St. Jude's has so much money. That's what thing on Facebook today. I put a video up with me and Max, and they were like, hey, hit this button if you want to have all your fans who watch this donate to a charity. It's like, I'm the fucking charity. I'm the charity. I'm doing a science lab thing with my kid so that people will fucking go to my Patreon and join. So I don't have to get asked Noam for a job fucking bussing tables next month.
Oh,
there are no tables next month.
Well, 3 months from now. All right. So what do you got, Joe? Can you put the hat back on for us though?
Oh, yeah, I was just getting hot and I was getting freaked out.
I can only, it's Noam's hair or your hair, not both at the same time. Okay.
Fair enough. Without a country, the podcast the news podcast that me and Corinne Fisher do. Get it wherever you get your podcast from, and there's a YouTube channel you can subscribe to. And then my new record, I Go to Atlanta All the Time, is out for digital purchase wherever you buy your digital records from, and the double vinyl is available now through Capsule Records. So go to their website and you can get it there.
Hey, do you mind if we play some of that next time we have you on?
I would love, please.
Please Marina, you too, and Greg, do you mind if we play some of your clips next time you're on?
Absolutely.
That'd be fun. Noam,
yeah,
of course, the Comedy Cellar. I probably should give my plugs before we announce you. Robert Kelly, patreon.com/Robert Kelly. I'm putting up content every single day. If you're a fan of my comedy, a fan of my podcast, if you're a fan of me, just go there, join. It's the price of a caramel macchiato. So go there right now. And of course, Liz, thank you. Ray Goo, thank you, Liz. Thank you, Mushy Mike, the producers, getting this all together for us. They're really busting their ass all day long. And Noam, I want to thank you for, this was Noam's idea. He wanted something out there for the Comedy Cellar fans and the comedy community. So that we just didn't sit back and leave you guys hanging. So thanks for putting this together, Noam.
Thanks, Noam.
That's it's Comedy Cellar Nightly. We hope you enjoy it. We'll be back tomorrow night at 6:00. And then Saturday, I believe we're going to go live from the Village Underground with some comics. It's going to be a little different show, and we hope you enjoy it. Any emails, any suggestions, anything you want to do, email Noam at
podcast@comedycellar.com.
Or should we send that to Liz? Because do you look at that?
I look at it. We got a few emails.
Okay, cool. There you go. We'll see you guys next time. Mike, shut it off.